I know.
Like I can't build rapport with you. Are you recording? Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for coming in today. It's good to see you guys. So I know we've been working on our ultimate goal, right, which is improving decision making, which we agreed upon when we first started working together. And you guys have been doing great with this goal. Mom and Dad, I know that you have been working on making pro-con lists together to get kind of practicing at making decisions together. You've been making to-do lists together, and you've been doing awesome. So I want to move on to kind of the next step in our goal, which is for you guys to actually formally make a decision together. Amir, I know it's been hard for you to not be able to participate in the decision making, but I'm going to ask you again today to really try to hold off and let Mom and Dad have this conversation together. What we're going to use is the formal decision-making process, which I know we talked about last session. But to remind you guys, the formal decision-making process, you can basically sum up by saying steps. Do you guys remember kind of what this is? A little bit. It just sounds familiar? Okay, cool. So steps is S. We're going to state the problem. So when we're stating the problem, that means we're going to define it fully. We're going to define who it affects, how that affects them, what this problem entails, kind of all the details we can think of, right? T is for try solutions. So here is when we list all possible solutions to this problem. Bad solutions, good solutions, everything. E is going to be for explore pro-con. So that means we're going to be taking these solutions and exploring the advantages and disadvantages to all of them. So what's good about a certain solution and what's bad, right? And P, pick the solution. So we're going to look for the solution that best fits, right? So the solution that seems to be the one that would work best for everyone. And then S is see if it worked. So we're not going to obviously do that one today, but maybe next time in this decision that we come up with, we can check in and see if it works. So we're doing this here in session as kind of a practice round, right? So this is going to be the first time we're going through the decision-making process. So it's probably not going to be super easy or go through fully the first time. And another part of that is that I really want Mom and Dad to do this part, the whole decision-making process right here, all the steps.
Really, I keep saying part of it.
So this is really for Mom and Dad. I know it's hard. I get that.
I'll try.
Okay, that's awesome. That's all I can ask of you. So I know this was a quick review. Hopefully it sounded a little familiar from last time. So let's pick a problem. Does anybody have any ideas for the S?
I don't think that's a problem.
Amir's drinking is a huge problem. He got a DUI a month ago.
Amir's drinking.
I mean, drinking and driving.
Okay.
I think it's a problem.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is that you think Amir's drinking and driving is a problem?
I know it's a problem, and I know.
Okay.
It's a problem because it's illegal, and you shouldn't be engaging in those two behaviors at the same time.
So it's a problem, right? Oh my gosh. What?
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
That's weird. She has her barks.
I hear movement and all. I think there's another.
So I'm going to pause.
Yeah.
Come here. So
So it's a problem because it's illegal, and it's a problem because obviously, as his mother, I'm terrified that something is going to happen to him. I mean, that's more of a problem for me than even it just being illegal. But that, is kind of the topping, cherry on the cake for me.
I get it. So it's dangerous, right?
Yes.
And you feel nervous for him that it's
Just thinking
dangerous.
about it. Yeah.
What about you, Dad? What do you think?
I mean, it's dangerous, but he's like 21. He can make his own decisions.
What-
I feel like he's capable. We talked about it. We're fine.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
talked about it already. It's totally fine. It's not really a problem anymore.
It's not a problem for Amir. It's
if it's not right,
slightly a problem
Yeah.
for Dad.
I mean, she's obviously really concerned about
Well,
it.
I was not included in that conversation.
But it didn't really concern you, so.
Of course it concerns me. I'm his mother, and I care about his well-being.
Well, you could have had a conversation with him.
So is the problem the drinking in general, or the drinking and the driving part? Mom, you seem to be the most concerned about this. What do you think?
For me, it's the drinking and the driving part. He's 21. He can legally drink. If he can do that safely, that is up to him. It's when he puts his own life at risk that I have a huge issue. Yes.
I wasn't even that drunk.
Okay, Amir, we're gonna let Mom and Dad really define this problem and how it affects them. Okay? Thank you. So, Dad, you were saying it's not a problem for you. So in what way is it a problem?
I mean, I don't want him to get hurt. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I'll agree to that point. I don't agree that we really should get that involved because it's not our lives. But yeah, sure, I'm sometimes concerned about his safety.
How can you say it's not our lives? He's our son.
Okay, fine, I'm agreeing. The
Yeah, but
problem
I'm an
is his
adult
safety.
now. You
Right.
Gosh.
Amir, why don't you stay out of this? Mom and Dad, I like how you're communicating to one another, but let's try to reframe it in a way that's a little bit more positive. So do you want to tell Mom why you think it's a problem directly to her?
I agree with that point, that it's a problem only because I don't want our son to get hurt. So I agree with that part.
Okay, wonderful. I really like what you're saying, and you're saying it in a really positive manner. Mom, why don't you tell Dad in the same kind of positive light why it's a problem for you?
It's a problem for me because he's my son, and his safety and well-being is everything to me. And not only is he putting his own life at risk, but he's putting other people's lives at risk when he engages in that behavior. And that's why I struggle with you allowing him to do that.
Did you hear what she said?
Yes.
Okay. So it sounds like we've defined the problem pretty well. The problem is that Amir is drinking and driving, risking his own safety, and creating a conflict in that way. So let's list some possible solutions. What do you think, Mom and Dad?
I think we should take away his car. I mean, that kind of seems like the simplest solution.
Okay.
You can't control yourself.
Amir,
when
we're
you're
just listing possible solutions here, okay? And why don't we continue? I really liked how you were, listing a solution right off the bat. I think it's great that you want to participate so actively in this. But let's just list the solutions and maybe not why you feel those solutions are the best. We could talk about that in the next phase, explore. So, taking away his car, one possible solution.
Which I hate.
Okay, we'll talk about that next.
Fine.
What is the possible solution that you think?
He can call me and I can pick him up.
Okay. So he would call you and you would pick him up.
Yes.
Can he call Mom too?
I guess, but he'll
Okay,
probably
let's-
just call me.
Okay, let's have him have the option to call Mom or Dad.
Fine.
Okay. Any other solutions that we can think of?
yes, you could take a cab.
Okay.
Are you gonna give me money for it?
We can take a cab.
I'll give
So
you-
we can talk about the
Thanks.
logistics at a later point, Amir. I appreciate you wanting to get that in the open air.
Yeah,
But
I
again,
don't-
this is for Mom and Dad. Okay? You'll have time to participate at a later time. Thanks, Amir. So take a cab. Another possible solution. Anything else that you could think of, Dad?
A friend could drive, pick him up, drop him off.
A friend could drive.
He has lots of friends.
Okay. All right. A friend could drive. Those are all great solutions. Why don't we start to think about kind of the pros and cons of each of those solutions? I believe, Mom, you started off with taking away the keys. What are some of the pros and cons of taking away the keys?
Well, he does work, so he would have to find another way to transport himself to his job.
So what would the con be?
That is a con.
The
It's all
con.
cons. They're all cons.
They're all cons. I hear that you feel a little distressed when we're talking about this one,
No, this one's horrible.
but I would appreciate if you could talk in a positive manner about it.
So he would need to find an alternate way to get to work. It would not allow him an opportunity to drink and drive because he would not have his car.
Okay, so that would be a positive in your opinion.
Correct.
Right. Dad, pros and cons to this one?
I have no pros to this one.
Okay.
This one, I feel, is just taking away our son's independence. He will rely on others too much. He's independent at his age. He should be able to do what he wants. It's his car. Cons, relying on other people. Cons, it's too extreme. Cons, it's too much power going to you, and you just want him to be under your control. So
I appreciate you talking about this in a really calm manner. That sounds great. If we could get some of more of the content that you're saying to be a little bit more gentle, I think that might be even better.
I can try.
How might you rephrase that?
I would like him to continue to be independent. I think that's the major take home of this con for this one would be he is 21 and he has been functioning on his own and he'd like to continue functioning on his own.
Okay. Thank you, Mom, for agreeing with that. I think that's wonderful that you guys could agree upon that. I think the next solution was that he would call you and you would come get him. Pros and cons to that one.
So for me, a con would be that he could do it all the time. That he'd become dependent on us coming to get him, and I'm willing to think about this possibility with some boundaries maybe attached to it.
So why don't you talk with Dad about some of those boundaries?
Well, I don't want him calling us at 2 o'clock in the morning on a weeknight. I don't think that's fair for us. We have to both get up at 7 a.m. to go to work.
But if we're concerned about his safety, I think that's fine. It's better than him driving drunk.
I agree.
I really appreciate you voicing your concern of safety to Mom. I think that's really important.
And you're right, that is one of my primary concerns. However, I wonder if we could find an alternate way for him to come home on weeknights, and maybe we could be available to him on the weekends.
That's fine.
Interesting. So I see you guys compromising here. Is that something you guys do often?
No.
That's really great. I really like hearing that. That's awesome. So let's, between those two, see if we can pick a solution.
Well, I'm willing to be on call on the weekends.
So why don't you guys talk amongst yourselves? Dad, talk to Mom. Mom, talk to Dad, and see if we can come up with the solution between those two.
I think we're definitely going to have to go with the second one. We're definitely going to have to go with the picking up and getting some responsibility on us because the taking away the car isn't going to work.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from, and I agree with you. However, we can't be on at his every beck and call.
I understand.
Again, I'm hearing compromise here. I'm hearing you guys saying your feelings about this situation to each other. That's great. So let's go with number 2.
Okay.
can we make a plan for number 2? I already heard some kind of semblance of you guys saying only weekends. What other kind of parameters can we put around this to make a concrete plan? Let's say for this weekend, right? The weekend's coming up. What's the plan for this weekend? Exactly what will happen to carry this out?
I'm willing to drive him home when he's intoxicated. I would like to.
So what happens first? Let's back this up. Right? Amir's gonna go out with friends, which I've heard him do on the weekends.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely going out tonight.
Okay, so Amir is gonna go out this weekend.
Right, and it's like
Then what happens after
he
that?
will drink when he's out.
He'll drink, okay. And then what about this plan, this solution?
He'll call one of us.
Okay, who exactly, when exactly, is there a time limit?
I don't think it should be after 3 a.m. The bar's closed.
What do you want him to do at 3 a.m. then? Drunk drive?
I appreciate you making a valid point here that, you know, what is gonna happen after 3 a.m. without, you know, raising your voice or getting upset. What do you think about that, Mom?
I guess I hoped that he would be involved and he would be able to understand that we need to get our sleep as well, and even if we're willing to get up in the middle of the night to go get him, that he could also compromise with us.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from Mom, and tell me if you heard the same thing, Dad, is that Mom wants to make the rule that he just can't stay out past 3 o'clock. That's just a rule. If he wants to go out, he can't stay out.
That sounds stupid.
It sounds.
I'm 21, I don't have rules, sorry guys.
I understand where you're coming from, Amir, and I know it's hard for you to sit here and just not play a part in this, but it's really important for Mom and Dad to be able to talk this through together. Dad, why don't you tell Mom, without the help of Amir, what you think about that?
I think he's 21. I agree with what Amir just said, that we've never enforced rules before. You can't just all of a sudden come in and then say 3 a.m. you're gonna be home. I mean, I am fine with the after 3. I'd like to sleep as well, but you can't just say, well, you're out of luck now because he's just gonna drive drunk. So you're gonna have to come up with something else after 3.
So what? We stay up all night waiting for him to call?
I'm not saying that.
So what are you saying?
I don't know, maybe we could do like a combination and he could get a taxi after 3, but if before 3 we can be like a taxi.
Okay.
That sounds like a valid solution. So we're expanding our plan, right? So Amir calls Mom or Dad until 3 o'clock. One of them will come to get him within, what do you think is a good amount of time?
30 minutes.
Okay.
He'll go get him within 30 minutes. Dad, I really like that you just went along with what Mom said. I think that's awesome. And then he'll be driven home. After 3 o'clock, what's the plan?
I think if he's going to take a cab, he should be expected to pay for it.
I think we should give him money because otherwise he's just going to drive drunk. Why pay for a cab when you can drive for free?
Mom, how do you feel about that? Did you hear that, Dad?
I did, but I don't know what she expects.
So we've been working on this positive communication, really collaborating. I've seen you guys collaborating even today in session. Maybe you guys don't even know you're doing it. But this would be a moment where you might both state your ideas and how you feel and try to come up with a solution together.
So from my understanding, if he was expecting us to drive him home at the end of the night, he wouldn't have taken his car in the first place. So to me, it seems like a natural progression that if we're not there, he would have to take a cab or an Uber, that would be the only accessible vehicle to him. That's my understanding.
But he'd have to pay for that.
Exactly.
Let's remember that Amir did just say he's 21, he's independent, he shouldn't have rules, but these are parameters for living under your house.
That's correct.
From what I've heard you guys say in the past. So perhaps kind of thinking under that lens, I don't know. What do you think, Dad?
I mean, I think it's really harsh this is already new for all of us to make a rule. And I feel like we should, if we're expecting so much out of him, he's drunk. I mean, you think impulsively when you're drunk. You don't think like, oh, and now I'm going to spend more money that I don't have, that my parents should be providing because it's their stupid rule kind of a thing. But fine, I mean.
Do you hear what Mom's saying, though? It's really important for you guys to be able to talk to one another. Though I really like that you're really explaining where you're coming from. I think that's important too.
Yeah, I hear you. I just feel like you're not giving me any other option.
Well, we made the cutoff at 3 a.m. You got that?
I did, but he is our son. He is living under our roof. I think that we're allowed to set parameters around, what we are willing and not willing to do for him. He is an adult. If he was an adult, he wouldn't be drinking and driving. So if he wants to, engage in adult behaviors, he needs to also take on adult responsibilities.
For paying for his own taxi?
To start.
I mean, we can try it. I don't think it's gonna work, but we can try it for this weekend at least.
Okay, so that's the plan then.
Okay.
Dad, I appreciate you compromising with Mom. I think you guys really worked this out very well. And again, this was just a practice. This is new for all of us. Amir, I think you did an awesome job really trying to sit here and listen to them talk about you.
Yeah, it was hard.
That's hard to do. That's awesome. So I think you guys all did a really good job today. Your homework is to go and see if you can enact this plan, and then we will talk about it more afterwards.